Yo. Wait, where's the camera? There we go. Yes. Hey, everybody. It's what the heck. Oh, it's what the heck. It's gonna be a good day. I think like today is like it's what this show's about, just us hanging out. Because I think there's other events at the same time, and I don't even care. Yeah, I just want to hang. Uh, let's see in the chat we have Forestine and Alien Signal. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome to the chat.
Welcome to the two people already in the video. All right, let's do intros real fast for future people. Who are you, and what is your worst fear performing in person?
I can start. I'm Icing, and despite what it looks on screen, I'm actually much further away from Hex 7 than just next to him. I think my worst fear... Oh god, I have so many. I remember one specific instance when I grabbed my viola and wanted to jam with this rock band at this jam session when I was still in high school. And when I got on stage, all their instruments were tuned down one note.
Oh no.
So nothing sounded anything like it was supposed to. It was just horrible.
Oh no!
Yeah. That was pretty bad. I think in sort of a Eurorack perspective, I think my worst fear is technical problems mid performance.
Yeah.
Or I have this picture in my head of trying to get the gig started, but having to solve some problem that just won't solve itself. I just stand there sweating while the audience are waiting for me to get started. I think that's probably up there.
Yeah.
That's like that nightmare I have about trying to get somewhere at a certain time, and then I spend the entire dream trying to get to work or something, and I never get there.
Yeah.
Dream. Last night, speaking of dreams, we'll loop back around to fears. Last night of like while I was sleeping, I was moving that case.
No.
And like moving it made me tired. So in my dream, I was getting sleepy. Like that's how tired I was yesterday. Like, yeah, go ahead. Worst fear.
Hi, I'm Forestine. I'm from Canada. The snow is finally melting, but we got a snow and rain warning today, and I hate it. And also, this is making me think of choir because of Ising's example. I was in choir in high school for like 5 years. I was not very cool, and we would do like, you could do a solo of like a song you liked, and it didn't have to be like a weird choir song. So my friend and I did, for a school assembly, we did Two-Headed Boy by Neutral Milk Hotel, and the teacher wasn't paying attention, and the microphone started sinking, and both of our hands were full, and then he was really disappointed with us.
Whoops.
My worst
ambitious
fear...
to do Neutral Milk Hotel at a high school thing.
Leading up to my first live show in September, my fear was people would get bored and leave. I was terrified people would be bored because, like, when you can't tell if people are doing stuff on a stream, and at, like, a school thing 20 years ago, like, everybody's parents are supposed to sit there politely. I'm just like, oh no. Because, like, this is the first time where it's like my music that I made myself from the beginning, and it's not anybody else's thing, and if it's boring, it's all on me.
Yeah, that was a minor concern of mine as well, and I'll loop back around to that. But my I'm Hex 7. My fear actually changed yesterday, or the day before, on Friday morning, actually, when I was doing a little practice. My MS-10 decided to fire some warning shots at me. It was like all of a sudden the LFO on it stopped working, just like full on stopped working. So like it was going, but something, I don't know if that's potentiometer or what, but it was going at like one oscillation per like 3 minutes, but when
Oh
it did
no.
it, like it was impacting the pitch no matter what, even if it was like completely, and then the actual Kensington Pro Solo Mark III, which translates pitch from to hertz per volt or whatever the MS10 likes, that decided to like drop down pitch like 5 semitones or something randomly while I was practicing, and I was like, okay, my new fear is just the MS10 is going to stop working, because it also like the oscillator stopped working too here and there, and I was like, shoot.
Right.
That's like every lead in all of my songs.
Yeah.
I don't know
Shit.
what I'm going to do.
That's
So
in the technical failure category. I get that.
yeah, and I don't mind, like I'm actually prepared for like technical failure on this, because like this is like somewhat entertaining because it's a big giant like thing, and I have screwdrivers ready to go to take it apart and make that, a performable thing. Like fixing it can be entertaining in the right scenario, not fun for me, but maybe fun for the audience, right? I can handle that. No way, that thing is so anyway, that was a huge fear, but when I got up there, it was like, never mind, I'm going to work perfectly for the entire show. Whew. I mean, that was the only thing that worked perfectly, but
that is one thing that like, and I think also, I also feel similarly in that, having streamed so many times, I now feel like if something goes really awry, I could probably be okay dealing with it. But like before, it would be like, oh no, my brain doesn't work.
yeah, and enough stuff has like gone wrong on our streams, I think, that it doesn't even yeah.
I knew I was like practicing a lot when like Pam's died in like one of our stream trains, and I was just like, oh, and then I just restarted my whole case and kept playing, and it was fine.
Right.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've had
Tim
to retune a couple of times live as well. And luckily, I have pre-fader listening on my mixer, so I can just.
Oh, I don't have that.
That's a lifesaver.
All right, we have Isaac joining us as well.
Luckily, I have pre-fader listening.
There we go.
Hello. Hiya.
Hello.
I've joined. Sorry, I was a little late. I should probably
This
put
is here
on
too.
my bottom screen.
You also have a big echo.
Oh, do I have a big echo? Hold on.
Yeah.
That is. I'm gonna put y'all on headphones real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute Isaac for a second.
My computer has
Okay. Whew, silence again. All right, we're probably good now.
What if every time someone joined the chat, we had them join the stream?
Yeah, you want in, Tim? I'll send you the invite. Let's max this thing out.
All right. Is that working
yeah.
now?
Yeah, perfectly.
Awesome.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Super clear.
I was getting groceries and doing my laundry. I would have joined at the start, but I just got home.
Yeah, so we're talking performance shenanigans, because I did my first ever in-person performance. It's weird saying live performance, because all the shit we do is live all the time, so that's not really stressful to me anymore. It's
and also I've played the streams with more people than the show that I played.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do a live show. I've been planning one maybe in Edinburgh sometime soon coming up, if my exams don't like coincide, so I don't have like a physics test on the same day or whatever. But I've been trying to do that, but that's definitely been like scary thinking about, just because I've never played live before. I've done stuff on stream, but that's always with like a big, not portable setup.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Same, but also that's what I performed with. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You did, yeah. I did like. I thought I was cutting down my setup, but then I had 2 cases that were patched together. It was a terrible idea. It was the debut and last seen sighting of my control skip.
I had just recently, our Audio Electronic Society here did our first like jam session, like live jam session. So we had people come and like bring their stuff, and so someone from Instro brought her little rig. We had people bringing guitars and stuff. We had like a mini log. I have 2 mini logs on my desk right now, one of which is my friend's that I'm holding on to. But I brought my entire system, which I had to bring in like a big suitcase and just wheel down to the university.
Yeah.
And that was awful. And I could never bring my entire rig to anywhere live. It's just too much stuff.
I tried my hardest to bring my entire rig. Like, I brought this case, the little speaker stand, and everything in here pretty much, and the MS-10, right? And my dog. And there was literally no other room in my Jeep. Like, I could not. Like, I was debating bringing this because it looks cool as shit, like big honking button, like
I thought you were
sequencer.
going to the van. Fill the van with gear.
What doesn't move right now for reasons. We'll get back into it.
You could do Sim's van, like there's FBI monitoring things. It's just like
no, it's like
on either side.
This thing's just look up like a trans van. It's sick. 1970 something.
That's a lot of brown on it.
Yeah. With some cool stripes. And it's got 2 portholes. I don't know. With the round window. Yeah.
Bring back portholes.
Yeah, I agree. It's sick. But that's I'll probably be selling that in order to buy more gear.
Reasonable.
Trade van for modular.
But I was like keeping it, try to keep my setup like below 20 minutes, right? That's, I think, the goal for me. So I had everything pre-patched in these 2 boxes, and there are cables that go between them. About, I think it was 6 initially, and I went up to 9 when I got really fast at plugging them in. So that's not too bad. It's manageable. And they're different enough cables that I know where things go. Like, it's pretty clear where the MIDI cable goes and stuff like that. So, the setup time for that was maybe, other than lifting the boxes, 2 to 3 minutes. And this one, everything was pre-wired, so it was pretty much just like pull the cables off of there, put them in there, set the MS-10 on top, plug it in, another 3 minutes. So all in all, we set it up in maybe less than 15 minutes, which worked great. It was exhausting, but one of the funniest things is I had to tear down while somebody else was playing. Like, and so like I unplugged, I did the reverse thing, put the lid back on this. That's the lid over there. And I was like, well, where am I going to put this? Because there's only so much room. And so I just carried it down the stairs out of the booth and just set it next to like where people were dancing against the wall. Because like, who's going to even be able to pick that up by themselves? Like, I'm not worried about people taking it. It was the funniest like thought to me. Like, I don't even care. Like, good luck.
I keep little trackers inside of my modular. I've got a little.
Ooh, I should get a couple of those, like the
tags. Air tag things. They're really nifty.
I had one in my suitcase last time I went somewhere. I was thinking about
that too. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It really came in handy for me actually when I initially got to Glasgow, because obviously I had to bring all that from the States, and it was in a suitcase. Yep. But initially, someone else took the bag that had the modular in it when I landed.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So when we landed, neither of our bags came because they were both on a different flight. And then the second day they came, they only delivered us the one. And I was like, what the hell? Where's the one with the Eurorack? And then we got like a frantic email at 11 p.m. from some student who had accidentally taken it thinking it was his bag.
Oh.
And luckily the tag was showing that it was like in Glasgow at this random place so we could find it.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, definitely good thing if you're traveling with anything, especially gear. It's like good to have like just a thing to know where it is.
That's cool.
Just in case.
Yeah, I think I might duct tape a tracker inside the case. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also there's probably a specific device that'll do this more better. For my guitar, I have like a humidity tracker, but it's also got an impact sensor of some sort. So like if you put that in your bag and you check your guitar, you can see if they like dropped it.
Because they did, definitely.
Oh yeah. Oh. I've seen things like that go on crates where it's got like a ball and like
Yeah.
it tilts a certain
I've seen
amount
them a lot
and
as
it'll
well.
drop into there.
Yeah, they usually show if somebody's tipped over the box or something like that. They're not supposed to do. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not worried about it because on this stuff at least, because it would cost me way too much to fly with it. But also, like, I'd have to build, I think, up more boxes to go around those boxes, and it would just be like, like trying to drag one of those things around would be a nightmare.
Yeah, you would have to sort of pad up a flight case, sort of a really heavy duty flight case.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think using a suit, putting it, if you can pack it into a suitcase that is the largest acceptable height, then you're probably good. But you still got to deal with the 50-pound, 25 kg.
Yeah, and then you'd have like how many suitcases and.
Right. Well, I mean, I could do it once. Like part of the reason I'm building Tiny Cosmo over here is like the idea that I could, if I wanted to, fly somewhere with a setup that I could reproduce some of these sounds. Like I could perform with it. Versus like everything, not doing that again. I mean, actually, I might do it again, but it was fun. Yeah, it was a fun performance. It was a fun experience. Like overall, it went about as well as it could. Like I couldn't. It wasn't a typical modular event. Like it was like a dance party, right? Like it's at a club. People are expecting dance music. They're not going to put up with me doing a 30-minute modular build up before people can dance, like, so I did a lot of tracks, and that meant project switching on the pyramid, which meant pauses and playback, which I didn't love. Hapax will fix that for me.
Hapax.
But also I did like I picked a pretty good selection of things to get a feel for what people actually reacted to. Like some of them I'd look up and, everyone I could see was like, glued to what I was doing, but like not moving. And I was like, okay, probably not going to play this track again in person. So I got a feel for what people, at least that attended that club, liked. So that was kind of good. The subs there are incredible. Like the substack wouldn't fit in this room that I was like 8 feet from or something. They were, taller than the ceiling, and it was like 8 giant subs, all in a big beam.
Those must have been
big
cool
speakers
to hear your
everywhere.
music through those.
Well, here's the weird part, right? Like I had foregone buying like I only have open back headphones, which are not good for performing live because they let in too much outside sound. I didn't want to buy another thing, so a set of headphones that I wouldn't use that often but would be good live. So I avoided that, and I just used the monitors they had set up. The thing is, I had my performance here, and my Cosmo was right here. Just moving from like where I was with the pyramid over to Cosmo, there was so much phase cancellation right here that all of a sudden, just moving here, I couldn't hear any of my highs. Like they just disappeared. Like gone. So it was like, maybe this is getting better. You all should be hearing sparkly things right now, but I'm not.
That's tough.
So I think next time I will probably cut the booth monitors down significantly and go with headphones. So that's a lesson learned there. I also had I think somebody ran up and like cut not all of the sub stuff, but like some of the lows somewhere right at the beginning, because I never touched a DJ mixer and I didn't bother like looking where the EQ was. Like they ran up and like adjusted it for me after, which I was like, cool. But then like my Cosmos sub, like the heart of my system, was like nothing. It did nothing. Yeah, I think they cut like just the right frequencies to cut out my Cosmos sub. Like when I hit the kick drum, like that tail would still make you go like, but that did nothing. So so noting that too for next time. Also the highs were much louder in a club than typically. Like I had a good mix when I was practicing. Then I get in the club and the highs were like cutting through so much more. I had to crank those way
That's
down.
something
So
I've noticed about from the limited club experience I have here. Clubbing, I don't really like clubbing in general.
yeah.
Mostly because no one really plays any good music, or I haven't found anyone that plays
I don't think it's
great
the point.
music here. Yeah,
it's just to
like
keep people moving, drinking.
I mean, I can't stand it. It's like I can't. How am I supposed to dance to like Taylor Swift? Like I can't.
Hey, now,
Dude,
don't be.
that's how you.
I mean, I agree with you. It's like not my scene. Like I enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
I would love to play it again, but it's not someplace that like when I actually lived like 3 blocks away from it.
You would go every whatever.
No, and I don't think it even existed when I was living there. So, but there were lots of similar clubs, and like they're fun to go to once in a while. But like you go to drink, and like you want constant, you know, like.
Totally.
114 to maybe 130 BPM kick drum 4 to the floor. You know, something you can move to.
Yeah. But aside from my music snobbery, no. Sound systems I've noticed are always really really high highs and really low lows, and it's really, you know, just to keep the volume really high, and it's an interesting kind of response it has.
Yeah, I would love to go like midday sometime and just like when no one's there,
just like
get a feel for it.
That.
Yeah, like hit play, go stand out there, and like come back and adjust a few things, etc. I was talking to Noise Diffraction, who is a Colorado modular person that does really cool stuff. They played there, both on like the big stage and where I was, which is like sort of a lounge area. And that they gave me like some pretty solid tips, like headphones, or you know, all that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a different beast. Like it's different.
But it's actually an interesting point because I remember I saw a documentary about sort of early dubstep and things like that, and the whole shift of like old school UK dubstep to the bro step of Skrillex and all that happened because people were not producing in super nice studios with good bass response, but at home with crappy headphones, crappy PCs. So I think some of that might apply as well to sort of the stuff we do, because we do it at home as well. We do it with our own stuff. So it might not be the kind of stuff we expect it to be as soon as we put it up to like a proper sound system. You know?
Yeah, and I think some of the things I can do to sort of mitigate and practice, like one, I did have some pretty good earplugs in, because I want to hear stuff later. There's somewhere around here, but they're good ones, and they're supposed to just like reduce it by about 40 dB and have a pretty flat response. They're not going to change the pitch. They're meant for more studio type or performance, etc. But I think I'm going to practice with those on. So I'm going to get some of those like closed back headphones before my next performance. Crank the volume on those, wear a subwoofer, and like do my best to get a feel for it. But it's still not going to be the same as like when there is such a huge disparity between like subwoofer column and like
the actual thing speakers. You're hearing.
Yeah.
I ran off because in my show we had monitors as well, and it just sounds weird. And also mine was outside, so like everything is echoing all weird. But I bought the in-ear monitors from the Dank Pods video.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
And they were only $25. So I haven't tried them for a performance yet, but they're pretty good.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
I have the box.
Do they also do some noise cancellation as well? Not cancellation, but like noise reduction?
No, but they plug your ears. They're like earplugs.
That's what I mean. Nice. Just like reduce the volume of the outside noise a little bit. Yeah.
And it's clear. You can see like all the speaker stuff in there. Woo!
Yeah,
I love those.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Need more clear electronic in general.
Yeah, I saw somebody on the M8 Discord who was showing I think their setup from like 8 years ago or something, and they had like the clear Game Boy case and like a couple other clear things, and it just it just made me think like, how cool would it be if like your mixer was clear and like your other like that? Right.
Have you ever seen Prison Electronics?
Yeah.
So
those are always clear.
Yeah, they're always weird, but because they don't want you to hide anything in them, you'll see these beautiful like clear TVs or like
That's totally a
clear
Techmoan
radios
episode.
and stuff. I think it is. I think it is. I saw it somewhere.
I love
Or
how
it
I
was
can
like
assume everyone has seen an episode of Techmoan on this Discord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, no, that stuff's super cool. I just wish. I mean, I love getting to see all the guts and stuff of everything.
I was
Yeah.
also looking into putting a clear case on my iPod that I'm making work again, but it looks
Yes.
like might be really annoying. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh.
I tried to
so
do a clear DS mod once, and I totally flubbed it. Like I breaking
Just,
the ribbon
do-
cables and all that.
it's
Do
like it's a
acrylic,
cool
Eurorack
aesthetic.
cases.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm seeing more of that. I think acrylic's not a bad panel solution, especially when you're doing like Cosmo stuff. Or Eurorack's probably fine. It might be a tad like Cosmo. You can go pretty thick. Is like who cares? I don't know about Eurorack how thick you can make them, but they seem to work
Trying to
fine.
think.
Is my
Would
point.
the problem be it gets
So you can get that
scratched?
frosted clear. Yeah, but
a little bit.
Some
mean,
performer
yeah.
on a Modular World show who had a cube, acrylic
I
cube
love the cubes.
Oh my
with
god,
like
with like
Eurorack panels
modules
on
on.
all
Yeah.
sides of it, and he sort of
yeah.
would spin it around and
I told
rotate
Heck
it.
that they stole his idea because we were talking about making the top part of the Cosmo case spin around.
Oh my god.
the Cosmo
Because the cube
cube.
spun around. I don't know how they had the cables routed. I was
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, there's like connectors specifically for that that are designed to sort of rotate. And I think it's just like a circular plate with a bunch of rings on it. So like a PCB with a bunch of rings and then like a thing that moves on it. Sort of like a rotary switch or something, but to connect cables. There's probably other solutions too. Zoe Meets World is asking like, what little non-obvious things do we kick ourselves for not bringing?
Well, I've played one show. So,
Yeah, I can already tell
what-
you like longer cables. Like
Yeah.
anytime you're going between two things, like in my case, I had this stuff which was pre-wired and fine. Like the cables here were fine, but I had two wires, so a MIDI cable and an audio cable that needed to connect to the Cosmo. And I think they're like a 15-foot cable, which is pretty good, but not in a club in the dark. So what I ended up like the plan was to have it like at a right angle where it was. But getting there, I was like, well, it would actually be way cooler if it was behind me because I can play pretty much the same like this than like this, right? Like it's not much different for me, and the audience can see it a little better. So that would be cool. But my cable was long enough to get to it, but would hover in the air about 2 feet off the ground.
That's
Oh,
always
no.
so scary. I hate that.
No go. It's
hate
not.
that.
You can't do it at a night, in a nightclub where it's dark.
Yep.
So I'm probably gonna get like a MIDI cable like 25 feet long or something, and the same with that audio cable, just for situations like that. And
It's
maybe bring an
always
extra
cables
extension cord.
you run into problems with, right? It's always cables.
Yeah.
I remember when I
uh,
played in a band, and I usually had to rely on. I mean, I could always count on people having phantom power for my microphone, right? But more often than not, that wasn't the case because they had some weird box on stage that didn't transfer the phantom power correctly.
Right.
But so I always had something back up with me to generate the power if I needed to.
Yeah.
And there was little things I did as well to help out. So I used a guitar pedal. I'll plug it real quick. This Korg tuner one as a tuner for the Megadrone because I opened and
Oh,
closed
that's a
with the
good idea.
Megadrone,
Ooh,
which
yeah,
by the
yeah,
way
yeah.
on those speakers sounded awesome. But
Yeah.
I bet. 10 oscillators.
but this takes 9 volts, so I popped in a new 9 volt. But I also had a spare one in the foam in my case. Like you just cut a notch and you could just slot it in there. So I did that with a few things. Like I have some extra like these adapters. Like if I drop
Nice.
one or lose one,
Yeah.
I've got some extras of those and
Those are
just
so
stuff
easy to
like
lose.
that. Screwdrivers, like I slotted in a screwdriver in there and that kind of stuff. Like I think those are easy things. Like if you got a foam case, little X-Acto, cut a slot, stuff it in there, and you're good to go. So that worked out really well for me.
The biggest thing that I forgot at that show was a coat because it was outside and the last set I was freezing and I told the headliner, like, I loved your set, I have to go, I'm too cold. I want to talk to you about this, but I can't.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
They had pretty much every other piece of anything that I could have wanted, though. It was really good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I was
Probably
good
not the
otherwise.
norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time I brought all this at the jam session, I'm trying to think what I didn't. I brought a couple too many things. I feel like I brought the Norns and I brought my audio interface, which didn't get plugged in at all. But I did forget. I have a Tascam, a DR100 Mark II with it's like a Zoom mic. It's got just mics on it. And I meant to like bring that and then just start it at the beginning of the jam session and just let it record the whole time. I did not do that. Some other people brought some little ones, but that was just for snippets. So next time I'm going to try to just get like a complete 3-hour recording of just everyone messing around in the room because it was super fun.
I mean, I did luckily remember to do that. I've had so many streams where I forget. Like, I'll get it armed. Like, you can on my little mixers, they have an SD card in their Zoom, whatever, so they can record to an SD card. But I have to hit play for it to start recording, right? So many streams I've forgotten that. I lucked out with this one. I was like, right before I was getting, about to go, like, hit go, record on the GoPro, record on the mixer, and hopefully, like, I think the mix is going to be off because I was trying to compensate for the bass that was missing, and that was through the DJ mixer, but I still have the recording, so should I want to torture myself, I can listen to it. Yeah, I mean, I recorded the stems too, so I should be able to like fix some of it, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean
that's the thing I'm having trouble with. No, go ahead. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. My brain is like, this is not related.
No,
Keep
that's
going.
cool. That's cool. Another thing that I kind of wish I'd brought was a second, like, let's talk about DJ stands. My Cosmo and this are currently on like some generic DJ stand thing, and I only brought one of them because there was a table available to me, and the table worked out, but like there was a point where we weren't sure if everything was going to fit, and if that was the case, it would have been nice to have that second stand so I had flexibility. And they don't take up much space in the car. They fold up pretty small typically. So that was one thing I kind of wish I'd brought. I didn't need it, but it would have been good to have. I think that's it. Everything else went pretty swimmingly. My MS-10 self-healed. I guess it didn't like low elevation of 5,000 feet. Or let's see here for you European folks. 280 feet 2M. It's 1,600 meters.
All right.
Didn't like that. It liked high elevation.
Oh, I wonder how badly it would work at sea level.
It'd probably work fine.
Almost 1 mile.
It is exactly a mile is where I was.
Is part of it boiling water or something like that?
I don't know. It does.
Or
it
a cake.
Seems to be happy now. The LFO is flashing. I don't know.
Nice.
It's probably not going to come with me on another show though, because it's my baby. I don't want to break
vintage stuff is a little it's a little temperamental. It's like you don't want to mess it up or whatever.
Yeah, and I think my dog did a little damage to it in the car, so
No. That's not great.
Bad
There's a couple
dog.
things that I'm really glad that I labeled all of my power bricks before we went.
Oh yeah.
Because like once you're in a venue, everybody's power brick looks the same for everything, and you're like, oh no, what was my nondescript thing for? And then I forgot one of them at the venue, and then somebody was like, oh, it says Nifty Case. I think that's Lindsay's. So that was helpful.
Yeah, it's probably on a floor somewhere around here, but I have a silver Sharpie that I label mine typically with, except for the new Hapax brick has their logo on it, so unless there's like 3 of those, you don't have to worry about it too much. But also things are dark, so high contrast. Whatever you label with high contrast, whether it's sometimes I'll put electrical, like the yellow electrical tape or something like on there just to.
Yeah, I gotta get some like bright electrical tape or some just duct tape to label cables. I think more people are gonna be getting into modular as we're kind of doing these events, and I don't want my patch cables getting mixed up with everyone else's.
What if your nice patch cables get absconded with?
Exactly. It's like I don't want someone. Well, okay, I don't really have any nice patch cables. Half of them are $1 Home Depot patch cables, but
here's like another tip that I sort of learned. I mean, I did two things. One, I patched more things than I even needed. There weren't like dummy patches.
I wish I had done that.
Yeah, so I had extra cables already patched in the case. If I needed to pull them, I could. And I think I'll just go that route in the future. But I'd also brought some extra cables and looped them around the stand, kind of like that. Not that many, like 5 1 meter cables or something like that. But I wish I hadn't brought those because it was just like extra hassle. I think just having a few extra that you could unpatch, like there's so many patch cables that make things nice, but maybe only you'll notice them. Like if I need a 1 meter cable, I can pull the PWM off of one of my base things, or like things like that. You can just have a few extra plugged in is another good.
Just have a buffered multiple that's just completely full.
Yeah.
Make sure all your no pass filters are populated.
I had wished I had made some extra sections, because one of the sections of the thing that I had prepared, and also my show was also 2 hours away, so like it's really hard to be like, okay, I'm making the whole thing now, but now we have to leave and we have to put everything in the car, so it's like you don't get to see your patch like the same day because you're driving and stuff. I wished I had extra sections, because like one of them was like really weirdly out of tune, and I had thought it was fixed, but it wasn't. Like something you could switch to while performing would have been nice to be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. I will say the tuner that I brought was like life saving, like whether it's in your rack or not, like having a tuner where you can ensure your stuff is in tune before you start playing, because there's not always a gap between performances. Like mine started seamlessly from the next person, right? Like there was no like pod. Like I did a quick like one drum hit sound check and like that was it.
Yeah, same. Like that's why I was like, oh shit, this is not in tune now.
Right. So the Megadrone, like I tuned that by eye one at a time, and I could do that. And a lot of my tuners have tuners on them, so I wasn't worried about those because they yell at me in red when they're unhappy. Castor and Pollux, flawless. Like that tip you gave me, Isaac. As long as they're pretty much north.
It's great. I love that thing.
No issues.
Mine was out of tune in my show.
My MS-10 scared me for a moment, but then it was on me. Like sometimes if you leave the frequency modulation of the pitch up, it'll sort of sound a little bit out of tune instead of just warbly, depending on what I'm doing. So if I turn that down, I also used to patch the MS-10's nice because the cutoff or the mod knob or whatever it's not normal to anything, and I used to have that to pitch so I could do some dive bombs and stuff. But that ended up causing me more issues because I'd forget it was plugged in. It had been bumped like a centimeter. And so I retuned my MS-10 carefully and I play and it's great. And then I'm like, wow, I can't believe the oscillator drifted like that. And I noticed that was down a centimeter or something. So I stopped patching that completely.
I feel like there's a lot of things where because of the adrenaline, you're like, I will remember this, and you will not remember that.
Checklists.
I think I missed a whole track. I am positive. I have to listen back, but at one point I was like, oh, it's so weird. All the times I practiced, I did this thing during this one track where I kick on the distortion because it's a really obvious thing to kick the distortion on to.
Yeah.
I don't remember playing that, so my distortion was never on, so I wasn't ready for the next track, etc.
Just in the chat, Zoe Meets World saying, bring a long ass extension cord. Yes, you should. Always. 1000%. I brought a whole ass power strip last time I went, and I'm so happy I did because the audio lab we were in had 2 open things, and I wouldn't have been able to connect the modular and the key step and the mini log and the Volca and the Moog studio and stuff.
Right. I thought I was square there. didn't bring a long ass extension cord. There's a power strip behind here that's like 9 plugs, and then there was a power strip in there that's mostly populated. And I was like, okay, they both have like 10 to 15 feet cords. I'll be fine. Nope. If I had put my synth behind me, I needed to borrow a power strip from them, and like, don't make their life any more difficult than it has to be. So I was like, they like gave me a really annoyed look, but like went and got me a power, an extension cord.
Yeah.
That I ended up not using. But yeah,
No.
and the other point is they have a power strip. They had a power strip set up sort of on the DJ table so you can plug in your random shit. But they ran out of spots. Like, and I was like, hold on, let me just plug this into mine, and then I only take up 1 spot. They were like, thank you. I was like, come on.
Ravi asks whether you had time to warm up the synth. I mean, you have analog VCOs. These time.
Oh yeah. So what I did, because I was worried about the MS-10. I had this on the whole time to warm up because nightclub settings or any sort of theater is going to start cold. Like they're going to keep it cold. Then when people arrive, it's going to heat up just from body temperatures.
Yeah.
Right. So I had that on the whole time. So when my set, was there, it had warmed up with the people, etc., and was stable. So I actually tuned the Megadrone twice. I tuned it when I got there before people were there, just to like be pretty close. Quick tune, and then about 30 minutes before my set, I turned on the MS-10 so it could warm up, and tuned the Megadrone again, and then did a super fast tune of the MS-10 right before my set. So like everything was pretty stable by the time I went. Like I had nothing drift out of tune in a dynamic fashion.
That's good, for sure.
So tuning wasn't a big deal. Always bring a spare fedora. I actually did. So that was a good. I'm very I bring more shit than I probably should, clearly. I wore a different shirt than the one I was performing in to the actual venue to set up, because carrying this around is a very sweaty ordeal.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to set everything up, and then I changed it into a clean shirt. So that was the thing I liked that I did.
I have a question for you, Heck, about how did you handle EQ and dynamics during that, during your set? Do you have that on your mixer? Do you have an outboard effect thing? Or...
Yeah, I have that in my mixer, and it was pretty primed for me to tweak, but all of my stuff was going into a DJ mixer.
Yeah,
which I've never even touched one in person. I played with apps and stuff, but I wish I'd spent, and this was entirely on me, I wish I'd spent 5 to 10 minutes being hey, can you walk me through this so I can EQ shit? Because that was the thing that was the most messed up. Because if the EQing is happening after your mixer, whatever I do on my mixer is going to be doesn't matter. If I need to bump up my mids or something, and it's taken out on that DJ mixer, they're just going to stay out, right? So I think if you're in a scenario like that and you're with unfamiliar gear or mixer, have them give you, even if it's dumb, a quick walkthrough of that, so you can mid performance bring your Cosmo bass back.
yeah, totally. I asked mostly just because I've been looking at a lot of EQ stuff. Well, I've been designing an EQ for one, which I'm almost ready to send off for. And then also I've been looking at that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just go ahead.
You go. I was gonna say that new Danny sound as well. That
the pretty one
compressor, beautiful. With,
I would say
so bad.
You don't really need all the sound design people are going to hate me. I don't think you need EQ. I think if you need EQ, it's for specific voices. To if you have too many mids and it gets muddy or too much reverb or something, that's when EQ can help you out a little bit. But I hardly ever touch EQ unless it's to EQ out my noise floor or something that kind of shit. I don't all of my stuff right now is normal. I do not touch the EQ because of the way I have it set up. I like filters. I have a lot of low pass filters. I have a high pass filter. It's a really basic EQ, right? my subs are going to be low pass filtered, so the highs are kind of filtered out for the most part. When I do want to open it up, I know it's going to get muddier but a bigger sound, right? So I do that sparingly at the right time during tracks. So like I don't touch EQ that often. Unless it's like for a specific recording. I think in a club, EQ is kind of handy because you have these like earthquakey machines next to you making sound, and you might realize like the highs need to be smoothed out just a little bit.
Or whatever. Yeah.
So that's the only time I've ever thought I needed a little bit of EQ.
I just feel like I've been wanting it a lot on like so like I'll use my Norns as like a drum machine, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have an internal equalizer, but I just want to be able to like set that through and just, you know, bring up my highs or cut the mids or whatever. Just tweak it a little bit. I like having a lot of control over everything. Okay.
I think what I want actually for drums, speaking of drums, is I want to get more of a DJ mixer style filter, like a pretty boring one. I don't care if it has resonance, but something that is specific. I can run my entire drum chain through and do things like, you know, go high pass before a drop.
Cut it all down.
Like and I think that's the kind of thing that could help you out. Yeah, like the Queen of Pentacles can do. Yes.
I've been looking at that Golden Master module.
Right.
Yes.
Endorphins. That thing's cool. I don't really like I like the idea of it, but I don't really like the way they kind of execute it. The UI is a little clunky because you have like 3 sub menus that change what all the buttons and knobs do. But it is really powerful because you can do that kind of thing where you'll like really cleanly like fade out your 2 things and just, you know, solo your high and then do like a big drop or whatever.
Yeah.
And it seems good for that kind of thing if you just want to cut everything or boost everything or whatever.
Yeah, Benjamin's got a good point. Like EQ is kind of a double-edged sword. Like you can do it per channel. Like if you're recording a mix, like if you want to record like a 6-minute track you want to release on Bandcamp or whatever, and you want to avoid a ton of mastering or whatever, you can do it in the box with your mixer, and that's the kind of thing where, you know, it's kind of cool. But it's sort of a set and forget thing, not very performable.
That's kind of how I do it.
Yeah.
Like besides filtering and stuff, but like.
Yeah. But I also avoid it just because I just the like something as simple as octave switching can fix like if your stuff's too muddy, like your lead's not coming through. Just
put it up an octave.
Pop your lead up an octave. Like that's why I like octave switches, because all of a sudden now you got this really clear lead. So
that's just balancing your mix out, right? Making sure that not too much is competing about the same frequencies.
Yeah,
that's pretty new to me. I'm learning it.
and
otherwise, it's
the filters I like with yes, POM, PWM. We need like an easier way to say PWM, just like PWM. Yeah, so like PWM is awesome. Anyway, the filters I use with a lot of resonance sort of like help me cheat. Like the MS10 has a really noisy filter, like in a good way. The MS20 filters on my Cosmo are pretty like, they have a way of like, like if I if I keep it mellow and no resonance, like it might get a little lost in the sub will get lost in the mix. If I crank up the resonance, like it's arguably maybe not a sub, even though you get lots of like those sub harmonics. But it cuts through all of a sudden, so that's sort of cheating, and I do that a lot.
I have a hex mix that has like it has both an EQ on each individual channel and one sort of general one for the master, and the ones per channel are sort of those you can do the big movements. You can sort of really put up the bass or really drown out the highs or whatever you want to do. But the ones that are on the master bus are really subtle. So those are kind of more nice to sort of, I just want a little bit more bass or I just want a little bit more in the highs or whatever you want.
Yeah.
I tend only to use it sparingly. I've been using it to boost the kick drum a little bit, just to make it more punchy and bassy in the mix. That's mostly what I do with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Higher highs and lower lows is always a nice thing to have a tool just to do that. I'll want to do that with like, you know, hi-hats or whatever. If you want your hi-hats to really just be crispy, it's nice to just have a high boost that you can put in there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even just a high pass filter on them, you know, does wonders.
I'll sometimes, what I'll do is I'll use my QPass, right? Which is a stereo filter. It's got simultaneous low pass and high pass outputs. And so if you mix low and high pass together, you get a notch pass basically on the band if you got them mixed. So sometimes I'll like put a drum mix into that, pull the two out, and then I have kind of like a little bit of resonance, and you can do some weird modulaty, phasey stuff with that, which sounds really cool. It can be very helpful.
Yeah, those are. I actually think notch pass or band pass tend to be pretty fun with resonance, particularly in mid-range stuff. Let's see, Benjamin. I think EQ bypass switches are excellent for switching energy quick. That is a super freaking cool idea because, like, if it's a knob, you have a challenge, right? You have to get it to wherever zero is fast. A switch, all you got to do is worry about like one hand maybe controlling your sequencer and the other one flipping the switch at the same time. Like that's the trick. That's what I do think a lot of like, I think filters, effects modules, a lot of those, having those with built-in bypass switches is freaking awesome. I know you can do that with like other circular waves in your rack, but having it on the module is like the most direct, easiest to remember. Yeah. And I have that on some of my effects stuff. It's great.
If the golden controllable, the DJ filter, you could probably do it with a sequential switch.
The other thing I'm thinking of is like the Modbap, the Performer, I think, can do those kinds of like filter things, and then you just got a big ass arcade button you can hit to do stuff like that, which is super fun. Programming stuff like that, that's all got a lot of code in it and all that makes it so they've just fine-tuned it to work really, really nicely. Oh yeah, Ben's mentioned the MSCL as well. It's another cool module for stereo compression. And you can just, it's a tiny little 4 HP stereo compressor. WMD, easy. They fit that much in there.
Maybe I'll get that. I mean, I like I like both options. Endorphins I really like, and WMD like I have as an edge in terms of me buying it because they're local to me. Like like Alex pinged me and like, I got these modules that I did the WMD set that I just got overnight. Like,
that's awesome.
Can't beat that.
I'd say pros and cons of them is definitely like MSCL is more focused on. I think the Golden Master has a compression it's like 3 band compression or something.
Yeah.
But you don't have access to the settings as easily. Like the other, like CL is like really like compressor,
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
The Scalpel, which is the EQ filter. I was just looking at
it. Oh, yeah, that's that one, yeah.
Yep.
That one looks pretty cool.
You know what I've been wanting to do? It's not really EQ, but fixed filter banks are something I would love to just spend like a month with, just playing around. Like it feels like not something I would use particularly musically. I mean, I know you can. It's more of just like, those instruments that you play just almost like to relax and just zen out a little bit. Like start with, white noise and use a fixed filter bank to get to specific tones, like waves, that kind of thing. That's something I want to do. Yeah. So Alex WMD. Yeah. So I performed with Alex. Like Alex was the one who invited me, and that's who I was playing with. And I got to say live, like first couple of things, big Eurorack cases are actually smaller in person.
Yeah, they're tiny.
From my perspective. But I was insanely jealous because the person after me, Matt, like after I'd taken my stuff off, while this guy from Berlin was playing this like hybrid laptop / Eurorack setup, he came out, brought his case out, and it was a pretty big case. I want to say like 12U or something, split in the middle, and just like set it down, folded it out, plugged it in. That was it. That was the whole setup. I was like, dude, That was pretty cool.
My
That was his
my case
whole setup.
is 12 ridiculously deep, so I
Yeah.
kind of want. I'm really looking to maybe at some point with one that's the same size. Those MDLR cases look really nice to me, or whatever.
Yep.
But something a little. It's just really deep. There's a really big gap, and we're super deep on either side, so it ends up not being that wide, like square wise, but then it comes out a lot. I lift it up here.
So
So heavy.
Like a
so I thought that was
CRT.
cool.
Exactly. It's in a big Pelican.
Another thing I would say is like, I think this is a challenge that Patch Stouts had, and they were attempting to solve again, is like when they're playing up there, like the folks who are attending this nightclub, they don't always like know what's happening at the event, or that it's like modular specific thing, right? Or even what modular is. When Alex is up there, you can't even see that he, like, if you're standing on the floor, you can't see any of his setup.
Yeah.
It looks like he's DJing.
Yeah.
When Matt was set up, it was a little closer to the edge, so you could at least see some wires poking up and him like messing with it from the lights and stuff. But they really liked my setup because you could see like a wall of some Frankenstein-looking thing that people would start.
Yeah, how were you standing again? Were you standing with the rack facing the audience and yourself facing away from the rack?
Because I had too short of cables to do that. Otherwise, I would have set it up that way and taped the cables down. So maybe also grab a roll of tape next time too. Like that's what I'm telling
Gaffer's tape.
Bring
some gaffing tape.
I have some. I just didn't bring it. Like just have some so you can tape to the floor. So like because it's it's a dark environment where I was. So if you're in that situation, tape shit down so you don't trip over it.
I feel like I've heard
worse, like pull this down, But what I was getting, my point was that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That I was circling around to is like if you are playing live, whether you have like a camera and a projector on your stuff so people can see it or something like that, like figure out a way to make your stuff visible. It's like even okay, I think, to have your back to the audience if you've got like a tilt stand or something, so like they can at least see some of the URL, because that is like, it's one thing to like hit play and like hear some of the modular stuff and like just only hear it, like it's good. But if they can see what you're doing and the complexity of it, and that you've like,
it's so much more
built
interesting.
this patch,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
Like, why is this so special?
Right, exactly.
I feel like Mylar Melodies has talked about this before, where he's like set up like a camera with like a projector of what he's doing, just straight down, so people can see like you're doing work. It's not just hitting play on a laptop.
Yeah, and Alex this time had set up a camera and a projector, and they had like some like camera noir filter, so it was black and white and like sort of extreme contrast on that stuff, so you could at least see the stuff this time. Sort of, it froze at one point, but when it was playing, you could like see like, okay, he's doing something. Like it's not just like I'm not cycling to the next track on a CDJ or something like that. So. CDJ, what year am I from? They're all going to be digital shit now.
I helped out a festival once in the age where everybody was just laptops, just no modular really at that time. So, and I walked on stage, looked at somebody's laptop while they were performing, and they were only just playing Tetris and having a Winamp open.
Winamp!
Oh my god. The custom skins.
I hope they had a custom skin.
Oh my god. Before my time, but I've heard tales.
Oh, I had an Iron Chef skin with little sushi roll sliders.
It was sick. And then Windows Media Player came out with custom skins to try to compete.
They had that head thing.
Yeah. The head thing that Winamp always gets credited to, but I had that green head as my...
There's an entire Twitter account dedicated to telling people they're wrong when they think that's Winamp.
Yeah. No, like... I don't know. I think hybrid setups are super cool and going to be more and more in. Like this guy from Berlin was in there, and I think he's going to school in Berlin, but he had like, I think Ableton set up, and with the what is that view? The where you got a grid of things you can play. whatever that view when you hit tab and you've got like clips, the clip view, and also session view, and also is modular, and like it was a really good combo because he did a lot of really cool like some sampling and some pre-made stuff along with his mod. It was a nice mix. So I think that's also pretty rad. But I think one of the things missing is like I want to see that stuff, and not just from like I don't actually need to know how it's working. I think they're cool visuals. Like Ableton actually does look cool. Like the modular itself looks sick if you can actually see it. You couldn't see his modular at all. You would have no idea he was doing anything with a modular.
Like I've been thinking about this because like there's like the two things. There's like a stream where all you can see is the modular, you can't even see anybody. And the thing Robin Vincent says, a pair of embarrassed hands. Or you could see nothing. And it's like, or like, could I see the person and what they're doing? Like if somebody was playing a musical saw or any other kind of interesting instrument, I would want to see the instrument and the person playing it. Like I want to see interaction.
I want to be as far away as possible, but other than that, I get what you're saying.
And modular is a weird beast because like typically, especially Eurorack, they tend to be lying down or at a slight angle. So like the audience seeing that, because their stages are elevated, right?
Yeah.
Like even at a slight angle, you can't see that even if they're facing away from the audience. So like figuring out how to visualize that is the trick. In my case, I have it easy with Cosmo, and that like it only stands
so
vertically,
big and straight up. Yeah.
And I'm also leaning more towards out of the box sequencer for like performances, because it's kind of fun to like I always feel like, I don't know, I feel cool when I'm doing this, when I've got one arm on a sequencer and the other on a knob doing an iron cross cool type move. I'm like, or like even better, like awesome. One hand on this filter and one hand on this filter, like that. I love that.
I love doing that.
So like,
turning two knobs at once, I always feel like powerful.
Yeah,
I've been struggling with finding a good camera angle for this. I mean, you need to have sort of stuff on stands and things like that to make it work. I think I got it pretty well now with cable to a USB extension cable, so I could get the camera up high. So I have like the switch.
That was a nice angle. I complimented you on that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that works pretty well, and you can sort of see the piano over here. That sort of works. I wish it was slightly wider so I could actually have the full. It's just a Keystone 37, so it's not particularly big, this thing, but it only fits half of it. So maybe
I have a problem trying to find a table long enough, because I've got one half of my case is 12U, and it goes like that, And so having that forward and then having my KeyStep Pro in front of that, and it needs to like lean against a wall, it ends up being like a meter across or whatever, like jutting out, which is just so much space. So I've got half the time I've got it like hanging off. I don't know. I need to replace this case with something a little more suited to what I need,
Let's dive into this challenge though, because I think it's something that's really common looking at, popular YouTubers and a lot of the people we see streaming. There's usually like some small keyboard or MIDI controller somewhere in front of or next to their case, right? Like in that, there's not a great solution to that. I'm really looking forward to the Hapax, the Hotbox, the Polychronic Performance Sequencer, because it's got multiple octaves visible at once, meaning that even though I may not like the live view where it's whatever it's called, isomorphic, I don't know, I may not like that as much, but the thing that I need is more like I would love 2 to 3 octaves, because I think some things that I like to do require quickly moving between 2 to 3 octaves, and that's why I like the keyboard. Keyboards are really nice to play, period. I think the best, like of all the instruments I played, they're the ones that make the most sense, and this is for somebody that like started on guitar. So I love keyboard. I just haven't found a good place. Like next to it, you saw, I'd have it next to the pyramid. I could put it in front of Cosmo, right? Like there's room there, but then all of a sudden I'm just a little bit further away, and the further you get from your modular,
you more have to
you're
reach
gonna
over.
get tired, right?
Yeah,
And I don't.
The problem with
Again,
the key step
because
is
of the
that
scale difference. Yeah.
the key step
Go
is
ahead.
that all your I/O is on the back, right?
Yes.
And so you want it, and it already comes out pretty wide because you've got the whole sequencer section. So you need to account for the sequencer section and that, and then you need to also have it because you're frequently unplugging and replugging cables in.
Yeah.
You have to plug into the back of it, and then it's just like, so I have to have it next to my modular, which isn't nice in my opinion. I like having it in front, but then you have to lean over and all that. It's just.
Here's another thing, dear any manufacturer that watches this that makes like MIDI controllers, like I get that you only need to plug in CV and stuff once in a while, but like just like you're already screen printing on these cases for the most part. Just put some labels on there so that I don't have to like lean over or pull it out of where it's existing. Or this one has actually, it doesn't have printed labels. It has embossed labels. So I can't even see it unless I pull out a flashlight. And this is daylight, right? Like,
I gotta say, something I appreciate about the key step is you'll see CV gates, 1, 2, 3 along the top that correspond directly to the jack right there. And they're printed on the back too. Very nice.
It's perfect.
In terms of sort of the best ideal setup you could have if you wanted to sort of do keyboard playing and do modular at the same time, I thought of this for a long time. It's actually a church organ setup that would be the most awesome thing.
Oh yeah,
because then you would have the keyboard in front of you, and left and right you would have your modules. You could just fiddle your knobs and go back to playing. I think that would actually make the most sense, but it takes like a room.
Yeah, let's talk about that in just a second. I want to get back to keyboard too. One of the things I've been thinking about as well are like computer keyboard trays, or I guess like you could use them just
the
keyboard
things
trays
that go under your desk.
That go under a desk and you can slide out, because it's not too hard like to if you've got a friend with a garage or whatever, to like essentially build a false like tabletop on top of a table, like raise a piece of plywood, a couple of 2x4s or something under there, so you have a gap, and then a drawer. Like you can just buy the rails, mount them, and you have now a keyboard rack. They even come as a keyboard, like a computer keyboard rack. So something like that I think is probably my ideal, that where you can pull it out when you need it, play it, shove it away for most of the performance stuff.
Yeah, for sure, that makes sense.
But again, if you're Isaac and actually can play, or Forrestine, or icing, everyone else in here, if anyone that can play live,
barely,
it's still like you've got to have a home for
it. Those piano lessons were many years ago.
Same.
I've never learned classically. I couldn't play a single actual piece of classical music on or any music that's not improvised blues scales.
Same goes for me, but I've had the piano lessons anyway.
I can still play the can. I think that's it.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to just like sit down and learn some like nice piano, like get a big keyboard and learn how to loon or gymnopédie or something, It's just, it's like almost like a thing to have at parties. You're never when you're there. There's a piece somewhere you don't want to suck.
What's up, CK? I heard you scheduled a thing at the same time as this, even though I scheduled this thing to avoid your thing. I just want to point out that I'm not the monster here. But yes, the Hapax. Okay, let's get into it, because I've spent 20 minutes on it now and I really like it. One, the isomorphic keyboard, I can do without it. What I would actually rather see is being able to see, 8 octaves at once, rather than like if the button above it is 3 steps up or 5 steps up. Like I don't care about that. Just give me 5 to 8 octaves and I am in freaking heaven. But it works. And the thing that's really cool about it is I'm going to start to get better at understanding chord names, because if I hold down multiple keys in a chord, it'll be like, this is 5, sustain, whatever.
That's really
I can't even say a chord. Right.
They're made up.
Let's see. Here, let's do it.
Chords are a lie made up by big government.
D4.
Yeah.
Turns out D4 is sick.
It's just an E, but it's there.
God, I'm always so interested when someone's like, "Oh yeah, of course, that's an E flat 4 chord." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
They made it up. They want to
It's
sound
black
fancy.
magic. It's black magic.
But
I really like.
But I'm like, okay, if I do this, let's see, where is it? It's like tritone, and I'm like, oh, tritone. I'm making devil music. Heck yeah, let's go. I didn't use those before, but now I'm going to use it because I can. It says tritone.
That's great. For me, just because you can toss it, or I assume something like this, but you can toss scale and make it so you can never play a note out of.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
You don't like that, really?
No.
I get sometimes.
I think it was okay when I was like, just like when I just got a circuit and knew nothing about scales. Like I thought it was okay, but I have found that when I'm locked into a minor, major, whatever scale, I lose the ability to hit those sour notes every once in a while, like the stuff slightly outside of the scale. And I really like that ability. CK, you're right. I am going to get, I'm looking at the Korg D4 or something like that. Some piano, right? Like electric piano that's compact that I can plug into there and like learn some chords and stuff. But mostly the thing I love the most about it is I'm not going to use the sounds at all in my setup, but my partner can like just turn that on and play it, versus right now I have an 88 key MIDI controller, so that requires like you to either like figure out how to route it to the like
too much setup, and then you don't want to do
polyphonic synth or a computer, and like she's not doesn't want to do that. So my plan is to get like a full keyboard, and because I do want to play. It's fun to learn to play stuff because you progress really quickly. At first, like, oh no, I can play chord, right? Like I'm not going to play Beethoven or Bach or any of that. Like
I also.
But, yeah.
I feel like the one thing that is nicer about learning something like piano to like guitar is the physical getting better at guitar. I felt like every time I sat down, I knew less than I did the time before. Piano, you don't have to have like calluses or anything.
Yeah, it's too.
Or muscle memory as much.
Yeah, no, my fingers don't like it. No, I got a piano emulation. A nice little piano thing in my Norns box, so it can just make a really pretty piano noise, which is just pleasant sometimes. Sometimes you just want to, hear that and mess around with it. You just want to play a piano, I try to play if there's an acoustic, like a grand piano somewhere. I always try to play that. Yes.
What were you going to say, Forrestine? I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, I actually do that with the Minilog XD. Like, it doesn't make piano sounds. Like, it's like any analog synthesizer, you're not going to get piano sounds. But to the untrained ear, my ears, it can make piano-like sounds, and it just sounds really good when you do that. So I have a bunch of patches I made that are like in that realm. Organ sort of sounds, those kind of things. I love those sounds.
A Rhodes is really nice to have. Just like a nice.
Oh my gosh!
Like chill Fender Rhodes is amazing. I love playing on like anything as close to just like, honestly, my ideal my ideal future like instrument, whatever, is just like sine wave chimes just on the whole thing. That's like my favorite. That's all I want. I want to make a Eurorack module sometimes that's just sine waves. Like, that's all you're allowed to do. You don't get anything else.
Sine waves are the most fun to play with. Like sine waves and an XY oscilloscope, and you can make really nice like stereo stuff.
And wibbles.
But like, one thing I noticed that was pretty cool on Arturia's whatever their collection 9 or whatever the heck
V collection.
The V collection, yeah, they've got some nice piano sounds in there.
Yeah,
and looking at them through an oscilloscope, like on almost all of their sort of acoustic-y instrument sounds, there's a good stereo field. Like it is not boring. Like if you're looking at a synthesizer with no like stereo reverb or anything, like and you've got an XY oscilloscope, it's going to be a diagonal line pretty much, because there's no difference between the left and the right channel. Whereas their piano sounds are like almost like circles, like they're really cool shapes. Like that's why you get that piano vibe. It's pretty cool. Just I don't know why that's worth noting, but it is. It's cool. Anyway, let's do a quick wrap. Let's see. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
If you're playing a live show, you should bring snacks.
Let's do a really fast, like, new module excitement as in on new modules, because it's exciting, right? Like whether they're new to you or the new ones coming out. Like somebody had written about the polar bear and the llama kick by someone filling this Pittsburgh Modular.
Yeah.
But even though I think those are cool, and I very so much want the llama module only because it has a module. I mean, a llama on it.
A llama on it.
That what was it? The
Danny
local
Sound
parks or
local
something.
Parks.
Oh,
it's so pretty.
Yeah.
Local forest.
Don't need it at all.
Oh my
It's
god,
incredible looking.
the
it's
other
blue, flowery.
It's
oh
such a
my
nice
god,
color
I
of
really wanted the flower shop one when it came out.
Local
and
florist.
I
I
missed
have
the
one.
yeah. Oh, I missed the boat on it because I love anything with flowers and all that. It's so pretty, but what is it, like a stereo day or something, or do we know?
It's supposed to be like a sequel to the primary oscillator, which I already have, and it has sliders, and this doesn't, so it's not like
Sliders
better
are
to
the
use.
best. Sliders are so
But
good.
it's so cute.
It's.
I
I
want
mean,
it.
I think Forestine was required by law to purchase it. Probably
I
the
did not
same
buy
with
the
the
local
forest,
park
but
It was required by law to buy the local florist. It's green.
yeah. So I'm excited about these very limited release modules. They're not going to be the best in class maybe for anything, but they're exciting, they're weird, and they're fun, I think, both for Pittsburgh and for people to get. Like
They're
I
neat.
think Error Instruments does that's their whole model.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
but I love to see Pittsburgh doing this because I think they're really cool, really interesting designs. Like they're beautiful.
Make interesting things. And like I always like how like he'll like tell you about the circuit and like why he did it that way. Like that is always very appealing to me.
Yeah.
The llama.
Oh, CK's already got the llama and the
Yeah.
polar
Oh
bear.
yeah.
Of course.
I didn't really like just personally the llama wasn't the one that really jumped out at me, but the polar bear was a very nice sounding snare drum. I'll say that. Like I don't have any dedicated snare drum modules, but that's one of the first ones where I've listened to it. It's like that sounds like a real snare drum when you hear it.
If they had come out with it like 2 weeks ago, I would not have a Crucible and a Kraken. I would have a polar bear and a llama.
Yeah.
But I just got the Crucible and the Kraken is like fucking light years ahead of the snare in the Drum Brute Impact. Even though it's a good snare and very flexible, it just doesn't have impact.
Yeah.
Less than impactful.
I've always wanted
I mean, if this has existed when I was initially looking at drum modules, it would have been a different picture as well.
Yeah.
My partner is slowly going through the new Erica Synths DIY modules, the ones that at the end you have a whole skiff. So he's ordered the envelope, but he built the VCO where they have you breadboard the whole thing first, and he said it's really great, and he likes the instructions and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've been talking with our audio society, and we've been kind of talking about maybe doing sort of a knockoff of those that we could make really cheap and then sell, like get like workshops where you'd come in and it'd be like a $25 Eurorack module you'd go home with or something, and then at the end of how many workshops you'd get your own thing. And we're even talking about maybe contacting him and like seeing if he can hook us up with some kits or something.
My partner was saying he really likes how it's like helping him fill in the blanks with like, you know, when you teach yourself something, you like miss things. Yeah. I hate that. That always happens to me.
I love that they're doing like Erica Synths. I think I ordered directly from them this morning just because I wanted to I think they're awesome. Like as a company overall, they're everything great. They do. Like they're supporting Ukraine. They make a lot of DIY resources available to folks. Like they make their old modules open source. Like what a cool company. And they make really cool, interesting modules here and there. they both come with magnets too. Jeez.
I've been really wanting that. The baseline thing that everyone is raving about, I've looked at for a while, though I don't think they make them anymore, unfortunately.
I don't know if we have any more baseline PCBs. I'll send you one, because that was one of ours.
My plan for Steam next weekend is to order all the missing pieces on the bill of materials that I've been avoiding
I'm always
for
looking
weeks,
out for more
months.
I'm always looking out for more PCBs. I'm going to see if people want to start trading for mine once I start ordering my own designs. If people want to trade.
Actually, I may have a baseline for sale. Anyway,
we'll figure it out after.
Well, yes,
I was just going to loop back around to these like limited edition modules. Like I love the companies that are doing it. Like 2HP has been doing it for the last few years for like Halloween and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are great.
Like I have the 2H. I have the no pass filter in my case. That was at the Performance. I have the cat and the nip module, and I will buy boutique limited release modules if they have character. It was really hard to pass up the polar bear and llama, but I had just dropped too much money on other stuff. So
yeah, I'm limited.
Order them before they run out, and you can always sell them. Yeah.
Well, and also for like I pre-ordered. Okay, it's not here yet, but I pre-ordered the Toporillo mini mix. And the nice thing about pre-ordering, even though it's like, okay, it's a limited edition, but it's just a mixer. But like, I can't keep trying to decide what mixer I want because I already ordered it.
Yeah.
So,
just
stopped yourself. Yeah. It's like no more.
No more. I did it. It's a batch of 100. Now I just wait.
And also Robbie, if you're still watching, I know you got to get ready. I got the BIA from Sign Mountain 2 days ago, and I met Sign Mountain briefly because his whole family was sick, so we didn't like hang out. But that also meant I got like this Colorado Modular sticker too with it, which I'm really
dang! You should have given him an EMS sticker. Do we have any more?
I didn't think to bring them. I actually have a stack from when I ordered a T-shirt, so I should start handing those out. I should probably just order a bunch and hand them out when I go to like in-person things.
We finally got our club got our stickers together. We've got GUAES stickers, which are pretty actually cool.
Gloss.
Let me see.
The Glasgow Audio Electronics.
Cool.
Cool.
Very cool. Pretty nice. And we've like split them up because we're selling them to raise money for our
CK, who's coming out with a drum machine in 2 years? Pittsburgh? Hopefully it's llama themed because I would buy the crap out of a dedicated Pittsburgh llama themed drum machine. I don't even have to hear audio. I'll just buy it.
Or that what's that other thing that came out recently? The 6 mod MO6. The Tubatech and LPZXW, the 606 voice. It's this really cool.
That's
it's called
the
the 6MOD6. Yeah, it's got a silver. Hold on, 6M0D6, I think it's called. Yeah, it's like a 606 on steroids, a modular 606 on steroids.
Is that the 1U thing?
So the 1U is their sequencer for it.
Right. Right.
Here, and then they have they made a sequencer that's kind of like here, I'll put the link in the chat. But it's just this ridiculous, it's got all sorts of controllable parameters and it just sounds really cool. 24 HP, 3U. And then you can link it to their little 1U or the 3U version if you want to just have like a
which is really just a sequencer for ends, because I mean those buttons.
The buttons are so small,
microscopically small.
I love small buttons, but like on a sequencer, I want big controls. You know, it's like
Let's talk about
a tin of drum.
I just have so many things I want to talk about today. Buttons on sequencers, can't be too small. Like I think borderline too small is the now that I've seen it in person and used it, the Metron, like too small. Just
teeny,
hair bigger. But it is a sick machine. But more importantly, they need to be clicky, not membrane. If they are membrane, follow suit with the Hapax and make them smooth. They're not grippy. They're
and like
really
velocity
nice
sensitive pads.
No velocity sensitive. Clicky and smooth. Velocity
Yeah.
sensitive is for other people.
I mean, I like kind of just like tapping in stuff with keys.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I wanted to try though, like the kind of 909 style where you have keyboard keys, or like the Erica drum sequencer where it's got like,
The
you know,
keys.
Mechanical
Yeah, those are
clicky
cool.
switches. Yeah.
mechanical keys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, that's my game. And like, if you make it easy to automate, like I think tap them in with clicky mechanical keys that are more durable. Like, have you ever gotten dust behind a membrane and had to clean it? Like, super annoying. Because you start getting double taps or no hits, things like that, and drives me crazy. But mechanical keys, a little more resilient to that. And if you make it easy to automate, like tap in your sequence and then just draw an automation knob, whatever, and then you've got that nice feel, or hit a button and get like slight randomization to the velocities. Again, similar feel. Yeah.
I like having when you have a hybrid where you can either like punch in and record live drums like on one thing, or you can like punch it in like XOX style, just like you want to kick on 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. You know?
Yep.
Or just
I will say that
what I do with this
That's
is just
basically the beast that Flo is
dragging.
describing.
yeah,
Basically. I'm describing. I love my key step. No, but just
It's
dragging across this line to give me a hi hat like is.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Yep. All right, I don't want to go too much longer because Bartok and Robbie are about to do another in about 30 minutes. Another
Intro to modular synth.
Like, learn how to get freaking awesome at modular synths by two
Or
awesome people.
what the hell are they?
So if you want, hang out, and they'll be on in 30 minutes. So
They will be on. Yes.
cue the intro if you're ready, or outro.
Outro.
The outro. The intro is at the beginning.
Oh, you actually knew ahead of time this time. Aha.
Stay tuned for the intro to modular synthesizers by Bartok and Robbie.